Hello YouTube, Cameron here. I'm at the dump again, the landfill on the beach. Oh yeah. And I found something epic. Look, Atlas Easy Seal. Yay! Finally! Something good. Been digging for a while now. Yep. Let's wake a little bit. There's a teapot here. Let's pull it out. Ah, it's a bit stuck. Ooh, cool. Doesn't look rusty actually. Looks like it's caked on with stuff, but it's not rusty. Cool. I might clean that off and take it home. Yep. Bye. I'm back with the review. Let's get started. First, there's this plain jar. I'm just using that for storage, so no reason to show that closely. There's nothing interesting really about it. Then there's this cool spoon. Yep. See the pattern there? See what it says. It says, see if I can get that to focus. SWR and then some sort of symbol. So I'll have to research that, and I'll show the information if I find any now. The firm was founded in the 1890s by W.M.A. Rogers, a small storekeeper in New York, using the Rogers trademark, and the 1881 R. Rogers from circa 1910. The firm succeeded the Niagara Silver Co. circa 1904 and bought Simeon L. and Geo H. Rogers Co. in 1918. The firm was an Ontario corporation active in New York and Northampton, MA, when it was bought by Oneida in 1929. Okay, pretty neat. Then I got a log cabin maple syrup bottle. I already have one of those, so it's probably going to go to my sale at the bottle show. Unless it's in better condition than my current one. Yep, very pretty though. There's the logo on the bottom. Yep. Then it's just like bone handle for a toothbrush. I think it's bone. Yep, fortune. Oh, it does have writing actually. Can't really read it though. Very faint letters. You can see a little bit right there. That's just for art. Yep. Okay. There's just like really old tube. Look. This part's like pottery, like porcelain or something. And the patents are 1907, 1908, 1910, 1919, 1919, and that's all. So it's probably 1920s, early 20s, I'd guess. Isolanite bases, for deform audion. Yep, pretty cool. Old radio tube. I'll show the information now. It has been known since the middle of the 19th century that gas flames were electrically conductive, and early wireless experimenters had noticed that the conductivity was affected by the presence of radio waves. The fathers found that gas in a partial vacuum, conventional lamp filament, behaved much the same way, and that if a wire were wrapped around the glass housing, the device could serve as a detector of radio signals. In the original design, a small metal plate was sealed into the lamp housing, and this was connected to the positive terminal of a 22-volt battery via a pair of headphones. The negative terminal being connected to one side of the lamp. Wrapped around the outside of the glass, they caused disturbances in the current, which produced sounds in the headphones. This was a significant development as existing commercial wireless systems were heavily protected by patents. A new type of detector would allow DeForest to market his own system. He eventually discovered that connecting the antenna circuit to the third electrode placed directly in the current path greatly improved the sensitivity. In his earliest versions, this was simply a piece of wire bended to a shape of a gridiron. The Audion provided power gain with other detectors, or to operate the headphones had to come from the antenna circuit itself. Consequently, weak transmitters could be heard at greater distances. DeForest and everybody else at the time greatly underestimated the potential of his original device. Imagining it to be limited to mostly military applications, it is significant that he apparently never saw its potential as a telephone repeater amplifier, even though crude electromechanical note magnifiers had been the bane of the telephone industry for at least 2 decades. Ironically, in the years of patent use leading up to World War I, it was the only loophole allowed vacuum trials to be manufactured at all, since none of DeForest's patents specifically mentioned this application. DeForest was granted a patent for his early 2-electrode version of the Audion on November 13, 1906. Diode's 3-electrode version was patented in 1908. DeForest continued to claim that he developed the Audion independently from John Ambrose Fleming's earlier research on the thermonic valve, for which Fleming received Great Britain patent something, and the American Fleming valve patent, U.S. patent, and the DeForest became embroiled in many radio-related patent disputes. DeForest was famous for saying he didn't know why it worked, it just did. He always referred to the vacuum trials developed by other researchers as oscillodons, although there is no evidence that he had any significant input to their development. It is true that the invention of the true vacuum triode in 1913, DeForest continued to manufacture various types of radio transmitting and receiving apparatus. However, he routinely described these devices as using Audions. They actually used high vacuum triode using circuitry very similar to that developed by other experimenters. In 1914, Columbia University student Edwin Howard Armstrong worked with Professor John Harold Manscroft to determine the electrical principles of the Audion. Armstrong published his explanation of the Audion in Electrical World in December 1914, complete with circuit diagrams and all-scope graphs. In March and April 1915, Armstrong spoke to the Institute of Radio Engineers in New York and Boston, respectively presenting his paper, Developments in the Audion Receiver, which was published in September. A combination of the 2 papers was reprinted in other journals such as Annals of New York Academy of Sciences. When Armstrong and DeForest later faced each other in a dispute over the regeneration patent, Armstrong was able to demonstrate conclusively that DeForest still had no idea how it worked. The problem was that it possibly to distance invention from the Fleming valve. DeForest's original patent specified that low-pressure gas inside the Audion was essential to its operation. Audions had severe reliability problems due to the gas being absorbed by the metal electrodes. The Audions sometimes worked extremely well, while other times they would barely work at all. As well as DeForest himself, numerous researchers had tried to find ways to improve the reliability of the device by stabilizing the partial vacuum. Much of the research that led to the true vacuum tubes was carried out by Irving Langmuir in the General Electric Research Laboratories. Okay, next is this like knob from something, like his hand crank. Turn this to something. Reminds me of a kerosene lamp, but I know it's probably not. Look, it's like a gear there for turning something. Okay, next is this thingy. It's completely sealed, whatever it is. It's this like vial. Let's show it. It's got a bubble. It moves kind of slowly, so I'm not sure it's water. Yep, see? It doesn't move like at the speed of water. It's sealed on both ends. Let's see if I can show it. Yep. Like, as you might be able to tell, I have a way better camera because I got an iPhone 10 now instead of a 6. Yep, so that's good news. Okay, next item. Let me know if you know what that item is, by the way. I have no idea. Then there's this Clicker Club. I think it's, based on my research, in the past, since I already have one, I know the research. It's early 1900s. Yep. And still sealed. I mean, most of the liquid came out by now, but you can see a little bit there. You can see it was never opened. Otherwise, this wouldn't be on there. So that's pretty interesting. There's the Eskimo on the bottom holding a bottle, as you can see, their logo. Yep, pretty cool. Still sealed. And then this is the find of the day, as you saw, which you saw earlier before I cleaned it. Ta-da! Atlas Easy Seal. Yep. Pretty cool. Blink on the bottom. Yep. Okay. Really cool. Short information now. And then this one, which I'm not keeping, but I thought it might be sellable. 3 feathers. It's a whiskey, if I remember correctly. You can see the feathers there. It doesn't really look that much like feathers. It's just something on the tip of the feathers. Or I think it's supposed to be bending over or something. Yeah. Interesting. And it's just like really, really old one. It's machine made, but I still think it's really old because there's a ton of bubbles in it. See, is it machine made? Actually, yep, it's machine made, but there's a ton of bubbles. Show that in the light. Here it is. Look at that. All those little specks. They look like damage, but they're not. They're bubbles. Yep. Tons of bubbles in this. Really cool. Tons of tiny bubbles, to be specific. Yep. Nice. And that's all. Hope you enjoyed. Bye. Time to seal this video.